Rachel. How are you
Hello,
doing?
hello. Doing great.
Yeah, I really love playing this promo video. We put a lot of work in it, and so I'm like, I'm gonna play it at every single session that we have. Rachel, thanks for joining us today. Happy White Paper Day, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
no, it's awesome. The Lightning Lab crew always shows up and supports us what we do here, so I really appreciate it. Um, we haven't been in communication very much. Let's hear a little background about yourself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how
I
did you get
could
started?
sure. Like, how did I get started in like the crypto industry or
Building.
yeah, just building in general? Well, I mean, I've been programming since I was a child. Literally, my dad was a programmer back in like the 80s and the 90s, and so he got me into it. Got my first domain name when I was like 11 years old. I made an anime fan site. And the rest is just history. Um, I'm a self-taught programmer. Made my own internet community called Wetfish in 2005. That was when I was still in high school. Um,
Wow.
and Yeah, so and I started working professionally as a software developer, just doing stuff, local development for like businesses and stuff
For
like
like little
that. And
websites and stuff like that.
just trying to hustle, just make ends
Yeah.
meet. And then it's been moving my way up, moving from startups, and here I am. Yeah,
And now you're here developing for the future of money. Isn't that
yeah,
amazing? Yeah, wow. So yeah, I was checking out Wetfish, and it seems like a pretty interesting community that you kind of formed. You started in high school, but
yeah.
now it's like something completely different. It's kind of next level from what it started off with. Did you ever imagine? Maybe give some context about what Wetfish is, maybe.
Yeah, so Wetfish is a virtual, community. It's like a maker space. So scientists, makers, artists can all come together to collaborate on projects. And so it just started out as like I wanted to make, I don't know, a forum, a message board type of thing, and like a chat room. And then just after years of operating it, my friends are like, well, we all know how to program, we all know how to do this stuff, so let's work on projects together. So yeah, it's just me and my friends hacking away. We've made art projects, like physical projects for festivals. We've done software development for other companies, and yeah, we do a whole range of stuff.
That's super cool. Is it like a loose collaboration, or is it like a cooperative style thing, or like more fully formed?
Yeah, yeah. So, there is still the community aspect of it, and it's an open source community, so anybody can collaborate on our projects. But there is also, it's a like an LLC, so it's a company. We have a employees of people from the community.
Oh wow,
Yeah, yeah. So
super cool.
we're doing stuff. Yeah,
We have a community manager. We just hired a community manager at Bold Fund because we're like, it's a lot of work to like, keep people interested, keep them engaged, and like, there's like all these different stuff that you have to do. And as you mentioned earlier before we started, you're like, um, uh, uh, you got to pay the bills, but it's good to have a side project that because you need to have some fun sometimes. Um,
exactly.
yeah. I think it's really important there, but I really find it kind of like very inspirational that you kind of started this off in high school and like what it is now. Um, like, have you taken time to like reflect back on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's crazy. Every year it just gets crazier to me that, we've been doing it for so long. But there's still parts of it where we're just friends and, we watch anime together. And then there's other parts where we're working on serious projects. So, we've developed our own like AI chatbots and like stable diffusion and stuff like that.
Ooh.
So, yeah, we're always experimenting with new technologies, but trying to have fun with it at the same time.
It seems like it's a creative outlet for you, and
Yeah,
like friendship is a big part of that as well, right? Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to like if you're looking for a co-founder or like people to work with and stuff, whether it's like loose as a community-based thing, open source community, or whether it's like for a startup or something, like you gotta like enjoy, hanging around
Yeah.
with people. Is
Well,
what I
and
think.
it's important to have shared vision. It's important to know somebody beyond just the context of, working together. Like it helps that if you have the same goals and the same like inspiration. So,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, and it helps you work better together as well because then you
yeah.
can understand what gaps that person fills in yourself, how to communicate better with them and stuff. Yeah, we're going to be having some social events at Peak Shift later this year as well when things kind of like settle down with these hackathons. There's like so many of them right now. But what we're here today to talk about is some of the cool stuff you guys are working on at Lightning Labs, right?
Yep.
And we had one presentation on LNC. I think this was like just when it was kind of coming out. It's about a year now already. I'm sure there's a lot of developments. Maybe you could like give us like the TLDR of what we're going to be getting into, and then we'll get the presentation up.
Yeah, yeah. I actually saw that presentation. I was with Evan, who's
Mhm.
one of the original developers of LNC. Yeah, so actually we can just jump into it because my
Just
first
jumping.
my first slide is a, kind of an overview of everything we're going to
All
be talking
right.
about.
All
So
right. No worries then. Okay, I'm
yeah.
gonna I'm gonna
Um,
get you up here,
all
and
right.
we will. Give me a second. And the stage is yours.
All
Okay.
right. Great. So we're here today to talk about LNC Lightning Node Connect. So what to expect? So we're going to start with a basic overview of what LNC is, some history of old approaches that apps used before LNC existed. We're going to be exploring the LNC Web NPM package. We're going to have a demo, and then we're going to dive deeper into some technical details. So first off, what is LNC? So Lightning Node Connect is a user-friendly way to create an end-to-end encrypted session, allowing users to control their Lightning nodes from remote devices. From a user's perspective, LNC sessions are simply created using a 10-word pairing phrase and a password, or you can scan a QR code. From a developer's perspective, LNC exposes a complete gRPC interface with only a few lines of code. LNC sessions can be scoped to only allow specific permissions like read-only or admin access, along with an expiration date. LNC also gets rid of the need for port forwarding and NAT traversal, and I'll explain that more later. But let's start off by saying like who uses LNC. So there's wallet developers, browser extensions, Nostr clients are all examples of projects that are already using LNC today. And of course, there's Lightning Terminal, which is the project that I work on primarily at Lightning Labs, which is a web interface that allows you to manage your node, manage liquidity, create channels, basically anything that you can do on your Lightning node from the command line. You can use the Lightning Terminal web interface to do that as well. So let's just start off with a bit of a history lesson. So what did people do before LNC existed? So both Bitcoin D and LND expose RPC interfaces, so that's remote procedure call interfaces, for sending commands to nodes and fetching information. Exposing direct access to these RPCs to the public internet can be a security vulnerability at worst. There have been a few CVEs that have been published related to Bitcoin D RPCs being publicly exposed. And it can be, at best, a confusing user experience for people, especially if you're not tech savvy, if you don't know how servers or the internet works at like a low level. Setting up port forwarding and exposing an RPC to the internet is way over most people's heads. So there are some packages like LNRPC and LND Connect, which make it easier for application developers to use these RPCs. but they require users to manually copy TLS certificates and macaroon files, which are basically like the keys to your kingdom. So if you're copying around a macaroon file and you accidentally paste it the wrong place, somebody could get access to your node. They also require port forwarding, like I mentioned, to be properly configured on your network that the Lightning node is hosted on. So previously, I worked at Casa on their Lightning node. So it was like a hardware product where it's kind of like a router where you just plug it in and it has Bitcoin and Lightning pre-installed on it. And we felt that expecting users to manually copy macaroon files and set up port forwarding was just too complicated for most people. So instead, we had to create our own custom API for wrapping RPC calls, and then we used Tor for NAT traversal. So essentially, we traded development complexity. It was a headache for us as developers to manage our own APIs and everything. But all of that was in order to reduce user experience complexity. So it was a really streamlined experience for end users, but it was a lot of work to get to that point. So just a really quick detour for anybody who might not know what NAT traversal is. NAT stands for Network Address Translation. So in simple terms, NAT traversal is the process of how a computer figures out how to talk to another computer. So when you host a server on the internet, other computers need to know how to connect to you. So when you host something in a data center, like a dedicated server or VPS, the data center provider automatically handles all of that networking for you. But when you host something in your house or in a corporate office, there is often firewalls that block incoming connections, hence the need for port forwarding or some alternative mechanism for NAT traversal. But fortunately, thanks to LNC's use of proxy servers, you don't need to worry about any of this. It doesn't matter. So let's start exploring the code. So we offer the LNC Web NPM package. So nearly all of the code we write at Lightning Labs is open source. So there's Lightning Node Connect, LNC Core, and LNC Web. And first, all you have to do is install the package, which is npm install Lightning Labs LNC Web. And then you import the package into your project. And you can see, you're importing the project. You call the LNC constructor, you pass it a pairing phrase and a password. You run LNC run, which loads the WASM binary, and then you run LNC connect, which actually connects to the node. And that's it. That's all the code you need to use LNC to connect to a remote node. So a little more on that. Now that you have that connection open to your Lightning node, you can fetch transaction history, you can open channels to other nodes, and you can create invoices so other people can send you sats. So all of the subservers exist as objects on each main service. So there's, like the swap client for Loop, there's the trader client for Pool, and you can see a few examples here of, you can use lnd.lightning, list invoices, you can add invoices, you can connect peers. That's basically how you open new channels. You can list all of the swaps that you've made, and you can list your accounts. So for those who don't know, Loop is a service from Lightning Labs that allows you to add or withdraw funds to your Lightning channels using on-chain transactions. So basically, you can send an on-chain transaction to Loop, and then we will immediately send you those funds to a channel on the Lightning Network. So you don't have to open a new channel. Or say you have too many funds on the Lightning Network, like you've been receiving a whole bunch of payments from people. You're like a vendor and you're selling products online, and you want to take all of your Bitcoin earnings out of that channel. You can use Loop out and then withdraw funds to an off-chain account without needing to close your channel. So it's a way of keeping your channels open and still being able to get your Bitcoin off chain. And then Pool is another service from Lightning Labs that allows you to buy and sell liquidity on Lightning channels. So say you have a bunch of capital and you're not really doing anything with it, you can essentially lease your Bitcoin to other people and say, you can use my liquidity for your Lightning node. So great service for people who, want to get some extra yield from their Bitcoin. All right, so it's time for some demos. So the first thing I want to show off is creating LNC sessions using Lightning Terminal, which is the web user interface, definitely the easiest, most convenient way to create LNC sessions. Let me back out of this and I'll go to Terminal. So this is just running locally on my computer, but if you have LitD installed on your computer, this is the same thing that you would see. So you can create a new session, do example session. Cool. I spelled it wrong. I'm still spelling it wrong. It's very important. So you can change the permissions here to either be read-only, admin, or custom. And custom lets you totally customize the permissions that are available to your session. So you can see here where there's all these different options. You can set an expiration date. So you can set to be expires after 90 days, or you can set a custom date, or you can control the specific expiration date. You can also allow permissions with more granularity. So you can say, I want this session to be able to open channels and close channels, but not do anything else. Or you might want to just say that this can control loop and pool. So maybe somebody wants to manage your liquidity. So this is great for if you're in an enterprise where different team members might need different permissions to different things, but you don't want to necessarily be running several different nodes for everybody in your company. So that's one potential use case for having these custom permissions. So I'll just, go back and I'll just make an admin session. Cool. So this generates a pairing session. So this is a pairing phrase. So you can either copy this pairing phrase, which just goes to your clipboard, or you can click this button to generate a QR code. So if you're on mobile, you can scan this. And again, this is all just like local on RegTest. So there's no, you wouldn't want to be in a presentation and show this QR code normally, or you wouldn't want to expose your pairing phrase normally. But this is all just on RegTest on my local computer. So then we can go here. Actually, I'm going to disconnect. And so we can log in. And I just paste. So this right here is Terminal Web. And so that's something that's hosted by Lightning Labs, which is the node management interface. And so all you have to do is paste in your pairing phrase and connect. And then you can set a password. And so this password actually encrypts the connection information. So the connection information gets saved in your browser automatically, and then the password is used to encrypt and decrypt that information. So it stays protected at rest. And now that's it. I've connected. So this node, in this example, it's all being run on my computer, but in theory, you could run your node in your house, and then you could be, at a friend's house, you could be somewhere else and connect to it from your computer. You could connect to it from your mobile phone. There's lots of wallets that support LNC. So like Zeus is one example of a mobile wallet that you can use LNC to connect to a Lightning node that's actually hosted in your house. And And so this just gives me access to everything. You can see here's all the channels that I have on this node. I can open a new channel, and basically I can send and receive transactions. I can send it on-chain or with Lightning. So just all of this is available, easy to use user interface, thanks to using LNC. Let's see. Next one is, oh yeah, and so maybe you don't necessarily want to do everything using like a web interface. Maybe you want to use the command line. So when you have Lightning Terminal installed, there's a tool called Lit CLI. And so you can use that on the command line as well to create these sessions. So you can see this command here where I have Lit CLI, and then I'm passing the network, which is the local reg test environment. But obviously you can use mainnet or testnet. And then the command is sessions add, and then you can add a label to it. You can define a mailbox server. By default, that connects to Lightning Lab servers, but you can also host your own. And then you can specify the type is either admin, read-only, or custom. So it has all the same features as the web UI that I was showing you earlier. It's just on the command line. So I send that command, and then you can see here, it says all the information. There's the pairing secret. There's the public key that's used for the connection. And that's really it. That's all you need to do to generate these sessions on the command line. And so from there, I can use this pairing phrase and connect to, so this is one of the demo clients. And so you can see this is the default server, but I'm not using that. I'm using my own local server. So I'll paste in my pairing phrase there, localhost. I'll add my server. And so I'll connect to that. And so, yeah, you can see the expiration date of the session. And then these are a bunch of just example commands so that you can see these are the RPC commands and the RPC responses. So you can get a list of all the subservers. So these are all of the different subservers like lit, LND, and loop, and pool, and all. And there's also Taproot assets is running in there. So I know a lot of people have been pretty hyped about being able to use Taproot assets. So this is a really easy way to have all of that stuff set up and basically just have, use LNC and you can control your Taproot assets. So you can get information about the pool server, you can get your wallet balance, you can get your peers and your channels. And so this is just a default example page that's included with Lightning Node Connect. So anyone can run this by just checking out the Lightning Node Connect repo and then running make example server. There's also the, this is in the LNC web. So this is the LNC React demo. So let's see, I will connect using a different pairing phrase. So one thing is that each pairing phrase can only be used by one session. So I have to make a new pairing phrase for each different app that I'm using. So, using Terminal Web, that's one session. And then using this LNC Connect React app, that's going to have to be a different session. So I'll create that session, copy the pairing phrase, and then go over here, pairing phrase, and just make up a password, submit that. Let's see. Failed to connect to the proxy server. No. All right, let's just try that again. Sometimes you just gotta try it again. And then the great thing about using the LitD interface is if you have these sessions that say you created but you don't necessarily want anymore, you can just click this X button to revoke the session. So that actually gets rid of that session. It'll disconnect any clients that are using it. So let's just try that again. Oh, is it connecting? You know, it's probably connecting to the actual mailbox. That's probably what's going on. So. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time. And if it doesn't work, you already saw the first demo, it's fine. So I'll just make a custom session and go to advanced options. And now I'm gonna paste in this is the default proxy server. So I'm just gonna submit that. Let's Hey, it worked. Okay, so that was the problem, is that I was connecting to the wrong mailbox server. So this demo app connects to the Lightning Labs default server. So that's why I had to go into the custom options here and add the specific mailbox server that I was connecting to. Great, glad that I figured that out. Okay, cool. So that's it for the basic demos. And we can just talk about how to actually use LNC. So now that you've seen what LNC can do, I bet you can't wait to use it on your own node. So you have a few options for that. The first one, obviously, is to compile Lightning Terminal from source, if you're a nerd. So Lightning Terminal is a bundled solution that includes LND, LNC, pool, loop, and Taproot assets. So basically all of the different services that Lightning Labs provides, you can get by using Lightning Terminal. So the code for that is up on GitHub. Or if you don't feel like compiling it yourself, you can use Umbrel. So Umbrel is a project that turns any computer into an easy-to-use home server. So you can take an old laptop, an old desktop. You could even use a Raspberry Pi. It's not recommended, but you can do it, to basically turn any device into a easy-to-use home server. So after installing Umbrel onto a computer, then you can simply install the Lightning Terminal app. So you go into the Umbrel App Store, and Lightning Terminal is one of the options in there. And finally, there's also Voltage. And Voltage is a cloud hosting provider for Bitcoin and Lightning nodes. And they have documentation for that. Basically, you pay them, you spin up a server, and then you can use Lightning Node Connect with your server hosted through Voltage. So that's some of the basics we've covered, just like what LNC is at a high level, how to use it in some basic demos. And now we can kind of dive deeper into how it works on a lower level. So it's end-to-end encrypted, and it does some key exchange. So under the hood, authentication with LNC is a two-step process. So the first step is key exchange, and LNC uses password authenticated key exchange, PAKE, to allow both sides to establish a secure connection. It also delivers an encrypted form of the macaroon auth token, and finally exchange the long-term public keys. So the 10-word pairing phrase that I showed you earlier is the shared secret password that is used by PAKE. So because PAKE can be used to share encrypted information, manual copying of the macaroon file is no longer necessary. You also, because we exchange these long-term public keys, it gets rid of the need for TLS certificates. So you don't need trusted third parties, you don't need certificate authorities. It's all just using the public keys that are exchanged through LNC. And so after you do that initial key exchange, you deliver the macaroon, which is the first step. The second step is doing authentication. So the long-term Diffie-Hellman public keys are used to verify the connection. So after the first handshake, all subsequent connections to LNC only require the second handshake. So the first time you connect, you need to enter the pairing phrase, and then that pairing phrase is used to basically encrypt your connection so that you can deliver the macaroon and the public keys that are used for the session. And then after that, you only need to use those public keys to verify that this connection is valid. So really quickly, I want to talk about that pesky mailbox proxy. So the Aperture mailbox proxy allows LNC to bypass common residential and commercial firewalls by making an outgoing connection to an intermediary server. So by default, LNC uses a proxy that is hosted by Lightning Labs. That was the URL that you saw me frantically copying and pasting earlier. But anyone can run their own mailbox proxy on their own infrastructure. So the repo for that is called Aperture, and definitely check out the Lightning engineering documentation to learn how the Aperture mailbox works. So when a new session is created, Lightning Terminal automatically establishes a connection to the mailbox proxy and waits for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the session expires and you need to generate a new pairing phrase. This is to, for security reasons, to prevent sharing and reuse of that pairing phrase. And during that 10-minute window, you can use your pairing phrase in any LNC-enabled app, which then connects itself to the mailbox proxy. And the mailbox determines how to route information by using a hash of the pairing phrase. So the pairing phrase is never exposed directly to the mailbox server. It's just used to derive the keys to allow the Lightning Node server to connect to whatever your front-end app is. And so if that all was interesting to you and you want to dive deeper into how it works at a protocol level, I would definitely say check out the Lightning engineering documentation. There's a really great post that Lalu Roast Beef wrote on Lightning engineering. That's the Lightning Node Connect deep dive. There's also just definitely check out the GitHub if you want to look at the code for how Lightning Node Connect works. And then there's LNC Web. So Lightning Node Connect is kind of like the low level, how the protocol actually works. And then LNC Web is the NPM package that deals with all of that connection stuff for you. So at the end of the day, you just use LNC Web to integrate into your app. And Lightning Node Connect is the repo that handles all of the lower level stuff on the back end. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for the presentation there. I think these kinds of tools and connectors, there's something that we haven't really paid a lot of attention to in the industry until kind of recently. So it's really great to see all the work and developments that you guys are doing over there, and that really appreciate you showing that off. What are some kind of interesting use cases you've seen people use it for? And you were mentioning the tarot angle as well, that you could do it. Are you seeing? I know you guys have. Not tarot, Taproot assets.
Taproot assets. You can't say that.
TM. No, but what's the kind of stuff that's exciting you? The cool use cases that you've been seeing.
Yeah, I think all of the Noster integration is really cool. So there's Albi, which is a browser extension that uses LNC. So basically, you could have, with Noster, there's Zaps. So you connect your node using LNC to your browser using the Albi extension, and then any website that you want to use Bitcoin on just integrates with it natively. So you don't have to worry about all of these additional connection steps or authentication because it's all handled through the extension. So yeah, there's lots of examples like that, and I know Taproot Assets were just launched, within the past couple weeks on mainnet. So people are really excited about that. I know people have been minting tons of assets. So it's exciting to see how people are going to end up using those for stable coins, for online games. I know there's a few different Lightning game companies that are already developing using Taproot assets.
Super cool, super cool. All right, Rachel, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and this presentation. I'm sure the maker is going to find it super useful in their projects. I would love to see what everyone comes up with, and we'll keep you in the loop as well.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you.
Ciao, ciao, everyone.